paramedic held up the empty cookie wrapper and asked my 8-year-old daughter one simple question. "Chloe, who gave this to you?" My daughter was still fighting for every breath. Her face was swollen. Red marks covered her neck, and her small fingers shook inside mine. She looked past the paramedic and stared at my wife. Then she whispered, "Melissa did." The room went silent. Melissa was not Chloe's mother. She was my second wife. She had lived with us for almost 3 years. She knew about Chloe's peanut allergy. She knew where we kept the emergency medicine. She knew that one bite could kill her. And yet, standing beside our kitchen counter, Melissa did not look frightened. She looked angry that Chloe had answered. That was the moment my marriage ended, although I did not say it out loud. My name is Daniel Carter. I was 39 years old, living outside Columbus, Ohio, and until that Sunday afternoon, I believed I had built a safe life for my daughter. Chloe's mother, Rachel, died in a car accident when Chloe was 4. For almost 2 years after that, it was just the two of us. I packed school lunches badly, learned how to braid hair from online videos, and checked every food label twice. Chloe's peanut allergy had been diagnosed when she was 5. The doctor had been direct with me. The next reaction could be worse. Everyone who cares for her must understand that. I made sure everyone did. When I met Melissa, she seemed to understand better than anyone. She worked in medical billing and spoke calmly about emergencies. She attended Chloe's allergy appointment. She bought separate kitchen containers and printed bright red labels that said PATFRE. For a long time, I thought that meant love. On the day of the reaction, I had been in the garage repairing a shelf. Chloe and Melissa were baking cookies for a school fundraiser. At 2:17 in the afternoon, I heard a chair scrape across the kitchen floor. Then Chloe called my name in a voice I had never heard before. I ran inside. She was bent over the table, pulling at the collar of her shirt. Her lips were swelling. A broken cookie lay on the floor. I grabbed the emergency injector from the cabinet and used it. Then I called 911. Melissa stood near the sink saying the same sentence again and again. I checked everything. But she was not helping Chloe. She was wiping the counter. At the time, I thought she was panicking. Later, I understood that she was removing evidence. The ambulance arrived in 6 minutes. It felt like an hour. A paramedic named Ortiz treated Chloe while another searched for the food packaging. He found a torn wrapper in the trash. The label clearly said the cookies had been made in a facility that processed peanuts. That was when he asked who had given it to her. After Chloe answered, Melissa stepped forward. "She's confused," she said. "She took it herself." Chloe tightened her grip on my hand. "No," she whispered. "She said it was safe." Melissa looked at me. Her expression changed instantly. The anger disappeared, replaced by tears. "Daniel, it was an accident." I wanted to believe her. Believing her would have protected the life I thought we had. But one detail kept repeating in my mind. Melissa had been wiping the counter while my daughter could not breathe. At the hospital, doctors stabilized Chloe. They kept her for observation because a second reaction was possible. I sat beside her bed, listening to the monitor and watching her chest rise and fall. Melissa stayed in the waiting room. She sent me 11 messages. The first 6 said she was sorry. The next 3 said Chloe must have misunderstood. The 10th said I was frightening her by refusing to answer. The 11th said, "We need to agree on what happened before anyone makes this bigger than it is." That message chilled me. Accidents do not require agreed stories. Around 9 that night, Chloe woke and asked for water. After she drank, she stared at the door. "Is Melissa coming in?" "Not if you don't want her to." Chloe shook her head. I waited. I did not want to push her, but I needed the truth. "Sweetheart, tell me what happened with the cookie." She pulled the blanket up to her chin. "Melissa said I was making everyone tired." "What do you mean?" She said, "People always have to change food because of me." She said I should stop acting like a baby. Then she gave me half and said it was safe. My stomach turned. "Did you ask about peanuts?" 3 times. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I didn't want you to think I was difficult." I leaned over and held her carefully. "You are never difficult for staying alive." She began to cry. So did I. Then she told me something even worse. "Melissa said if I got sick, you would be mad at me. She said you might send me away." I felt a rage so sharp that I could taste metal. But Rachel had once told me that anger was most useful when you gave it a job. So I did not storm into the waiting room. I did not warn Melissa. I did not give her the chance to hide anything else. I kissed Chloe's forehead and told her she was safe. Then I walked into the hallway and called the police. Part 2. The parfait fils Ecils un PM. Officer Gaines arrived shortly before midnight. He spoke to Chloe with a hospital social worker present. I stayed nearby, but I let her use her own words. Her story did not change. Melissa had taken a cookie from a package hidden inside a grocery bag. Chloe saw the warning label and asked whether it was safe. Melissa said the company only printed warnings to protect itself. When Chloe still refused, Melissa broke the cookie in half and ate a tiny corner. "See," she had said. Nothing happened. Of course, nothing happened to Melissa. She was not allergic. Then she told Chloe that grown-ups knew better and held out the other half until Chloe ate it. Officer Gaines photographed the wrapper. The police collected the trash bag from our kitchen. Melissa insisted she had purchased the cookies by mistake and had not noticed the warning. That lie lasted less than 10 minutes. The wrapper had a bright orange store sticker on its CLE DMAG key. Under the sticker, someone had drawn a black circle around the allergen warning. Melissa claimed she had never seen the circle. Officer Gaines did not argue. He simply wrote everything down. The hospital released Chloe the next morning. We did not go home. My older sister, Laura, lived 20 minutes away and had already prepared her guest room. I told Melissa by text that Chloe needed space and that the police had advised us not to discuss the incident. That last part was not exactly what the officer had said, but it worked. Melissa stopped apologizing. She began threatening. "You cannot keep me out of my own house. You are destroying our marriage over a misunderstanding. If you accuse me publicly, I will make sure people learn what kind of father you really are." The final message arrived at 3:08 a.m. "Remember, you were in the garage. You left her alone." I stared at that sentence for a long time. It was not the language of an innocent woman trying to save a marriage. It was the language of someone building a defense. The next day, I contacted a family attorney named Evelyn Price. She told me to avoid the house until police finished their first search and to preserve every message. "Do not confront her," Evelyn said. "People reveal more when they believe they are still in control." With Chloe safe at Laura's house, I began looking backward. In the previous 6 months, Melissa had changed. She complained that Chloe received too much attention. She called allergy, safe restaurants, Daniel's expensive, little habit. She started suggesting boarding school, always pretending it was about giving Chloe opportunities. At the time, each comment seemed small. Together, they formed a pattern. I checked our credit card statements. Melissa handled most household purchases, but I still had access. 3 weeks before the reaction, she had bought something for $18.42 at a specialty snack shop across town. The store name matched the logo on the cookie wrapper. That shop did not sell allergy, safe food. Its website advertised peanut brittle, peanut butter cookies, and mixed nut gift baskets. I sent the statement to Officer Gaines. Then I found another charge. 2 days after the snack store purchase, Melissa had paid a private document preparation company. The amount was $329. I called the company but learned nothing. They correctly refused to discuss a client's documents. Evelyn, however, knew the name. "They prepare basic divorce filings," she said. "Custody forms too." The word custody confused me. Melissa had never adopted Chloe. She had no legal custody claim. Could she get custody if something happened to me? I asked. "Only under unusual circumstances." "Who is named as Chloe's guardian in your will?" "My sister." There was a pause. "Are you certain?" I was certain about the will I had signed after Rachel died. But 6 months earlier, Melissa had brought documents to my office. She said they were updates to our home insurance and beneficiary information. I signed where she had placed blue stickers because I was late for a meeting. The shame hit me immediately. I had signed without reading. Evelyn requested copies from my estate attorney. What came back made my hands shake. My old will had been replaced. The new document named Melissa as the manager of a trust, holding nearly everything I owned for Chloe. It also stated that Melissa was my preferred guardian. My signature was real. The witness signatures were not people I recognized. I remembered Melissa standing in my office, smiling as she gathered the pages. "Trust me," she had said. "I've handled all the boring parts." But even that did not explain why she would endanger Chloe. If something happened only to Chloe, Melissa gained nothing directly. Unless the allergic reaction was never meant to kill Chloe. Unless it was meant to make me look responsible. That theory became stronger when the police examined our home security system. The camera covering the kitchen had gone offline 19 minutes before Chloe ate the cookie. It came back online 9 minutes after the ambulance left. The security company's records showed that the camera had been disabled through the main account. My account. The login came from my home computer. Melissa told police I must have disabled it before going to the garage. I knew I had not. But proving that was difficult until Laura reminded me of something. The week before the incident, Melissa had asked for the password to fix the doorbell notifications. I had given it to her. That night, I returned to the house with a police escort to collect clothes and Chloe's school materials. Melissa was not there. She had gone to stay with her friend Sabrina. In our bedroom, I noticed that Melissa's usual phone charger was gone. But inside the nightstand was another charger, an older model that did not fit her phone. I opened the drawer farther and saw a rectangular mark in the dust. Something had recently been removed. I searched nothing. I touched nothing. I photographed the drawer and called Officer Gaines. Police later found the missing device in a box inside the attic insulation. It was an inexpensive prepaid phone. Most of its messages had been deleted. One had not. It was from a contact saved only as T. The message said, "If the kid talks, make Daniel the negligent one. We only need doubt." The part 3. T men 1 EIT and HOL. The police could not immediately identify T. The prepaid number had been purchased with cash, and most records were gone. Melissa's attorney called the phone an old device she had forgotten about. He claimed anyone could have sent the message. Melissa moved out of our house under a temporary protection order. She was not arrested yet. The prosecutor wanted stronger proof that she had intentionally caused the reaction. I hated the waiting, but I understood it. Suspicion could protect Chloe for a few days. Evidence would protect her for years. I changed every lock and password. Chloe started speaking with a child therapist. She blamed herself for trusting Melissa, and hearing that nearly broke me. So I made her a promise. You told the truth when adults were trying to confuse you. That was brave. From now on, the adults will do their jobs. I intended to do mine. The first real break came from Chloe's school. Her principal called to report that a man had been seen twice near the afternoon pickup line. He never approached Chloe, but a teacher recognized him from a photo on social media. His name was Travis Cole. Travis was Melissa's former boyfriend. She had told me their relationship ended years before we met. According to her, Travis had been controlling, irresponsible, and completely out of her life. His public social media account told a different story. He and Melissa followed each other. 3 months earlier, he had posted a photo from a lake. In the corner of the image was a woman's hand holding a drink. The silver bracelet on her wrist was one I had given Melissa for our anniversary. I sent everything to Officer Gaines. The police connected Travis to the prepaid number through location records. On the morning of Chloe's reaction, his phone had traveled from his apartment to the snack shop. Then it had moved toward our neighborhood. At 142 that afternoon, it stopped at a gas station 2 blocks from our home. It remained there until the ambulance arrived. Why would Travis wait nearby? The answer came from Sabrina, the friend Melissa had chosen to stay with. Sabrina contacted me through Evelyn. She was frightened and wanted protection before speaking to police. She said Melissa had told her that our marriage was already over, and that I was emotionally unstable. Melissa claimed she was preparing to leave, but needed one clean incident to control the divorce. Sabrina had assumed that meant catching me drinking or losing my temper. Then, 2 weeks before the reaction, she overheard Melissa and Travis talking in her backyard. Travis said, "The ambulance is part of it. Without a medical record, nobody cares." Melissa answered, "She'll be fine. Daniel always keeps the pen close." Sabrina did not understand then. After she learned what happened to Chloe, she did. Their plan had been cruel but simple. Melissa would trigger a controlled allergic reaction. She expected me to save Chloe with the emergency injector. Travis would anonymously report that I had knowingly left dangerous food around the house and had failed to supervise my daughter. Melissa would present herself as the responsible parent who called for help. With edited camera footage and prepared statements, they hoped child protection officials would remove Chloe from my care temporarily. During the investigation, Melissa would file for divorce, seek control of our home, and use the will as proof that I trusted her as Chloe's guardian. But their plan had gone wrong in 3 ways. First, Chloe's reaction was more severe than Melissa expected. Second, I called 911 before Melissa could control the scene. Third, Chloe remained conscious long enough to tell the truth. Still, one question remained. Why did Melissa want control of Chloe's trust so badly? I was comfortable, but I was not rich. I owned a construction, estimating company. Our home had significant equity, and Rachel had left a life insurance policy for Chloe. The trust was worth a little over $700,000. It was a great deal of money, but most of it was protected until Chloe became an adult. Evelyn studied the new trust document and found a hidden door. As trustee and guardian, Melissa could request reimbursement for housing, education, travel, medical care, and other expenses she claimed were for Chloe's benefit. The document gave the trustee unusually broad discretion. If she controlled Chloe, she could slowly empty the trust. But Travis did not strike me as a patient man. Why wait years for reimbursements? The police found the answer after obtaining a warrant for his financial records. Travis owed nearly $200,000 to several people involved in illegal sports betting. In the months before the attack, he had searched online for bridge loans, trust-backed loans, and ways guardians could borrow against a child's assets. Melissa had searched for something darker. Can a trustee inherit if beneficiary dies? The search had been made from our home internet connection at 11:36 p.m. while I was traveling for work. When Officer Gaines told me, I had to sit down. The reaction had been intended to create evidence against me. That was the first plan. But Melissa had also researched what would happen if Chloe died. I could no longer tell myself she had merely taken a reckless risk. She had looked beyond the risk and calculated the reward. The police arrested Travis first. They stopped him outside a storage facility and found false identification, $8,000 in cash, and a key to Unit 214. Inside that unit were boxes of documents from my home office, copies of my bank records, printouts of Chloe's medical history, and a folder labeled DC, INCIDENT. The folder contained a schedule for the day of the reaction. At 2010, Melissa was supposed to give Chloe the cookie. At 2015, she was supposed to start recording me. At 2020, Travis was supposed to call child protection. Beside the final step, someone had written, "FD gets violent. Better." They had wanted my rage on camera. For the first time, I was grateful I had given my anger a job. Part 4. Tropsy Balal Far Mully Melissa was arrested the next morning on charges that included child endangerment, evidence tampering, forgery, and conspiracy. More charges would come later. When the police led her from Sabrina's house, she looked directly at the news camera and said, "Me husband is punishing me because I tried to protect his daughter." For 48 hours, that lie traveled faster than the truth. People online called me a controlling husband. A local page repeated Melissa's claim that I had forgotten to refill Chloe's emergency prescription. Someone posted an old photograph of me holding a beer at a football game and called me an alcoholic father. My company lost 2 contracts. Then an anonymous complaint was filed with the state licensing board. accusing my business of falsifying safety reports. The complaint included confidential project information that only Melissa and my office manager, Keith, could access. That was when I realized the conspiracy had another member. Keith Donovan had worked for me for 6 years. I trusted him with payroll, bids, and access to my office when I traveled. He had introduced me to Melissa at a charity dinner. When I checked our recent project files, I found altered estimates and missing inspection photographs. The changes made it appear that I had approved unsafe cost reductions. Keith stopped answering his phone. Police found him at the airport with a one-way ticket to Mexico City. His laptop contained messages with Melissa. Their affair had begun nearly a year earlier. Travis was not Melissa's secret lover. He was the pressure behind the scheme and the person willing to handle its ugliest parts. Keith was the man she planned to build a new life with after destroying mine. That was the twist I had not expected. Melissa had promised Travis money from Chloe's trust. She had promised Keith ownership in my company. She had promised herself my house, my reputation, and a public story in which she was the brave stepmother who saved a child from a careless father. Each man thought he was her true partner. Neither knew about the other. That weakness became the key to everything. Travis's attorney approached the prosecutor first. When Travis learned about Keith, he understood Melissa had planned to blame him if the scheme failed. He offered his messages, recordings, and testimony in exchange for consideration at sentencing. One recording captured Melissa explaining why she chose the cookie. "It leaves no bruise," she said. "People believe accidents in kitchens." I listened to that sentence once. I never listened again. Keith also began cooperating after he learned that Melissa had described him in messages to Travis as the idiot at the office. He admitted altering company records and gave investigators access to a cloud account Melissa believed had been deleted. The account contained draft statements, forged documents, edited videos, and a spreadsheet estimating the value of everything Melissa expected to control. My home was listed at $486,000. My company was listed at $1.2 million. Chloe's trust was listed at $713,400. Beside Chloe's name, Melissa had written one word: leverage. I printed that page and carried it to every court hearing. The criminal case took 11 months. During that time, I focused on Chloe. We moved temporarily to Laura's neighborhood because our old house no longer felt safe. Chloe returned to school, joined an art class, and slowly stopped asking whether food had been checked by a good person. She learned that safety came from rules, labels, and trusted adults, not from pleasing someone who pressured her. I learned something too. Revenge is often imagined as a moment of violence or humiliation. But the most powerful revenge I could take was to rebuild every part of life Melissa had tried to steal. I hired an independent auditor and cleared my company's name. We contacted every client before rumors could become permanent. I showed them the altered files, the police report, and the corrected project records. Some walked away. Most stayed. I sold the old house, not because Melissa had won, but because Chloe deserved a home without memories hiding in the kitchen. We bought a smaller place near a park. Chloe chose yellow curtains for her room and painted a tiny blue bird above her desk. Evelyn helped me void the fraudulent will. Laura was restored as guardian, and a professional fiduciary took control of Chloe's trust. No future spouse of mine would ever control it. Then I filed a civil lawsuit against Melissa, Keith, and Travis for the financial damage their conspiracy caused. I did not ask for an emotional public spectacle. I asked for documents, sworn testimony, and every asset the law allowed me to recover. Melissa tried to settle if I agreed to keep the evidence private. I refused. Not because I wanted strangers to enjoy her downfall. I refused because her lies had been public, and the truth needed a permanent record. At the criminal trial, Chloe did not have to enter the courtroom. Her hospital interview had been carefully recorded, and other evidence supported every important detail. I was grateful she was spared. I testified for 2 days. Melissa watched me as if she still expected the old Daniel. The man who signed wherever she placed a blue sticker. The man who mistook preparation for love. The man who could be provoked into destroying himself. Her attorney asked whether I hated her. I thought carefully before answering. No, I said. Hate would require me to carry her into the life my daughter and I are building. I came here for accountability. For the first time, Melissa looked afraid. 5. The jury deliberated for less than 5 hours. Melissa was found guilty on every major count. The judge described the crime as a calculated exploitation of a child's trust and medical vulnerability. He said the fact that Chloe survived did not reduce the seriousness of what Melissa had chosen to do. Before sentencing, Melissa asked to speak. She cried. She said she had loved Chloe. She said Travis manipulated her. She said the cookie had only been intended to cause a mild reaction. She asked the court to remember her volunteer work, her career, and the good years of our marriage. Then she looked at me and said, "Daniel knows I am not a monster." I did know something about her. I knew she could attend a child's doctor appointment, memorize the warnings, and later use that knowledge as a weapon. I knew she could smile while changing a will. I knew she could calculate the value of a little girl's future and call it leverage. Whether that made her a monster was not my decision. Her actions were enough. The judge sentenced her to a lengthy prison term. Travis received a reduced sentence because of his cooperation, though it was still substantial. Keith pleaded guilty to fraud, conspiracy, and evidence tampering. He lost his professional license and nearly everything he had purchased with stolen company money. The civil case ended 6 months later. Insurance covered part of my business losses. Keith surrendered investment accounts and a rental property. Travis had little to take. Melissa's share of the proceeds from our former home, along with her retirement account where permitted by law, went toward damages, legal fees, and a protected fund for Chloe's medical and counseling needs. Some people told me that was revenge. It did not feel like revenge when the checks arrived. It felt like returning stolen bricks to a damaged house. The true revenge came quietly. It came when my company won back the largest contract we had lost. It came when Chloe spent an entire school day without visiting the nurse from anxiety. It came when she ate at a restaurant again after speaking directly to the manager about her allergy. It came when she laughed without first checking the faces around her to see whether laughter was allowed. 1 year after the trial, Chloe's art teacher organized a small student exhibition. Chloe displayed a painting of 2 people standing beneath a yellow umbrella in heavy rain. One figure was tall. The other was small. Above them, the storm clouds opened into a bright blue sky. The title card said, "My dad believed me." I stood in front of that painting and cried harder than I had in any courtroom. Chloe slipped her hand into mine. "Happy tears?" she asked. "The happiest." On the drive home, she asked whether we could bake cookies for her class. The request surprised me. Since the reaction, she had refused to bake anything. "We can," I said. "We'll choose the ingredients together." At home, we cleaned the counter. Chloe read every label aloud. I did not rush her. I did not tell her she was being too careful. When she reached the final ingredient, she smiled and placed it beside the bowl. We made oatmeal, chocolate, chip cookies in a completely peanut-free kitchen. They were uneven. 2 were burned. 1 fell apart when I lifted it from the tray. They were perfect. While they cooled, Chloe became quiet. "Dad, why did Melissa do it?" Children often ask simple questions that adults spend years avoiding. I sat beside her. Because she wanted things that did not belong to her, and she decided other people's lives mattered less than getting them. Was it because of me? No. It happened to you, but it was never because of you. Do she consider that? Do you still get mad? Sometimes. What do you do? I looked around our kitchen, the yellow dish towels Chloe had chosen, the emergency medicine mounted beside the pantry, the blue bird magnet holding her newest drawing to the refrigerator. I give my anger a job. She nodded as if that made perfect sense. The following Monday, we delivered the cookies to her class in sealed containers with a printed ingredient list. Chloe explained the recipe to her teacher. She looked proud, not frightened. That afternoon, I received a letter forwarded from the prison. It was from Melissa. She wrote that she had changed. She said prison had given her time to understand her mistakes. She asked me to tell Chloe that she was sorry. She asked whether someday I might allow her to write directly to Chloe. At the bottom, beneath her signature, she added one final sentence. I hope you can stop punishing me and let all of us heal. Even after everything, she still described consequences as something I was doing to her. I gave the letter to Evelyn, who stored it with the case documents. I did not answer. Chloe's healing did not require access for the person who hurt her. Silence was not cruelty. It was a locked door. Years passed. Chloe grew taller. She learned to carry her own emergency medication and teach her friends how to use it. At 13, she spoke at a school health event about food allergies and peer pressure. She did not mention Melissa's name. She focused on the lesson. If someone tells you that protecting your body makes you difficult, she said, find a different person to trust. I watched from the back row, remembering the frightened child in the hospital bed who thought she might be sent away. Afterward, parents thanked her. One mother said her son had been embarrassed to carry medicine until he heard Chloe speak. On the way home, I told her Rachel would have been proud. Chloe looked out the window for a moment. Do you think Mom helped me tell the truth that day? I think her courage was already inside you. She smiled. By then, my company had grown larger than it had been before the conspiracy. I established a paid safety review program in Rachel's name and offered free home consultations to families managing severe allergies. It was not charity designed for publicity. We never advertised it. It was simply a way to turn the worst day of our lives into protection for someone else. That, more than prison sentences or financial judgments, became the ending Melissa never expected. She had tried to turn Chloe's allergy into a weapon. We turned it into a warning that helped other children. She had tried to make me look like an absent father. I became more present than ever. She had tried to steal our house. We built a home. She had tried to use my anger to ruin me. I used it to uncover every lie she told. On Chloe's 18th birthday, the professional trustee transferred control of Rachel's money to her under the safeguards we had created. Chloe planned to study nursing. She wanted to work with children who had severe allergies and chronic illnesses. We celebrated at home with Laura, a few close friends, and the same oatmeal chocolate chip cookies we had made years earlier. Before Chloe blew out the candles, she handed me a small wrapped box. It's not my birthday, I said. Open it anyway. Inside was a framed copy of her childhood painting, the two figures beneath the yellow umbrella. On the back, she had written a note. You believed me before the evidence did. My eyes filled with tears. I will always believe you. As she hugged me, and for a moment I could hear the hospital monitor again. I could see the wrapper in the paramedic's hand. I could feel her small fingers shaking inside mine. But the memory no longer ended in that room. It continued through every courtroom, every therapy appointment, every honest conversation, every safe meal, and every ordinary morning we had fought to reclaim. People sometimes ask whether I ever forgave Melissa. I tell them forgiveness is not the same as reunion. It is not forgetting, excusing, or opening a door that must remain closed. For me, forgiveness meant that Melissa no longer controlled the temperature of my blood. Justice handled her choices. Time handled my anger. Love handled the rest. And if that sounds too gentle to be revenge, then people misunderstand revenge. The best revenge was never watching Melissa lose everything she tried to steal. The best revenge was watching my daughter grow into someone no lie could ever silence again. Melissa gave Chloe a poison choice and expected fear to keep her quiet. Instead, Chloe told the truth. And in the end, that truth did more than save her life. It destroyed the people who had mistaken her trust for weakness. And it gave us a future they could never touch.